What's going on, guys? SpikeZillion here, and today I know it has been quite a while since my last video. I apologize for that. I've been very busy, but I have something special for you. It is Kashtira harpies again, because they just released all the new support for Kashtira on the 9th, I believe it was, which is pretty neat. So we got some new stuff to play with. And you're going to notice this actually doesn't look all that different from the old list. And it's not a crazy big difference, but you're going to notice a few things. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys playtesting of the deck today, and there's a couple reasons why. Number one is that today is Wednesday, and unfortunately, Wednesday, I guess, is Master Duel doesn't want to work today day, because for some reason, it just keeps crashing on me, and it keeps having loading issues. So this is the deck list. You can look at it. It's very pretty, but we're not going to be able to play test it today, unfortunately. I'm really sorry. I can give you the SpikeZillion guarantee that this will be a very good list for you, and we'll explain it a little bit, but I have been playing the deck without a riseheart, and I can tell you that it is phenomenal without him, so I can't imagine it would be bad with him either. Obviously, it'd be fantastic. He's actually the only thing that's different in the extra deck compared to the old list. If you remember, Diablosis used to be in the old list, and now Diablosis is dead. He's out of here. So we have a riseheart in the extra deck is the only difference in the extra deck that has changed. The only other one being AFD has been swapped out with Cyber Slash. I just forgot. Cyber Slash is back in. You may have remembered that AFD was the old card we put in, and we had Birdman in the list. We no longer have Birdman on the list. I have a few reasons for that. Mainly that we're not using Mist Valley in the deck, so I don't really see a point in using him just to bounce stuff around. There are a few ways to make Birdman still work in the deck, but it's really just not that great. There's a few things I want to mention about this deck that I think is kind of interesting, and it things that there's like flex spots everywhere here, really. And I was trying to find a way to get Ash Blossom as a playset in here. I wouldn't really recommend it, to be honest. There might be some leeway here, and I'll mention the flex cards right now, pretty much. We'll go through every card in the card by card, as usual, assuming you guys haven't seen the original video, although I would recommend you watch the original video, because I'd probably go over it a lot better, because we're going to go over both Master Duel and TCG today, with Master Duel first. But, yeah, we'll talk about the flex cards as we go along, so that you can see where you could probably fit Ash Blossom in here, if you really want Ash in here. Although, I think, personally, I would actually recommend Ultimate Slayer. I think it's legal in Master Duel, right? Ultimate Slayer should be in the game. Yeah, I don't own it, as you can see, because I haven't played the game as much lately, so my UR situation's kind of messy. Like, I'm still working on this deck. I'm trying to build Valence Crystal Beast, and I'm struggling, man. It's tough out here. There's a lot of URs for a lot of decks I want to play, so it's been kind of tough. But anyway, you can see I got lots of other URs, though. I got lots of stuff to play with. I just haven't made a decision yet. Anywho, let's talk about the card by card. I don't think I have to explain this to you, right? Come on. It's Max C. Okay, cool. We got through that. Okay, Harpie Lady 1. So this is one of the cards I think you could flex spot it, although I probably wouldn't recommend it, and there's a couple of reasons why. The thing that's really great about having more than, like, so in this list we have, what is that? That's 10 total Harpie cards that are named Harpie monsters, right? So that means that if you have a Channeler in hand plus a Harpie, you can discard a Harpie for cost to special summon Pet Dragon or special Perfumer or something like that, right? And so that's sort of what's challenging, is that if you have less Harpie cards, you're making it more difficult for yourself to get Channeler effect off, and you kind of want it off all the time. The only other cards that have Harpie in the name is Feather Duster, which you don't really want to discard, Featherstorm, which you really don't want to discard, and Hunting Ground, which is decent to discard, but you'll see this is important for a lot of the matchups in Master Duel right now, because a lot of the matchups that Kashtira is losing to right now is back row, and Hunting Ground is a big help with that, especially if you're going second, which in a best of one format, you can bet your ass you're going to see going second more often than not, I would assume, anyway. But with that being said, yeah, Channeler is kind of the main reason why Lady 1 is at 2 here, and Perfumer. But I think if you really wanted to flex here, like, I probably wouldn't put Lady 1 down to 1, but you could do that. The other option is you could put Perfumer to 1, since you just need to special her off Channeler anyway. And the only good reason for Perfumer over Channeler is that her effect goes off on summon, whereas Channeler's does not. So they would have to shotgun a hand trap on summon in order to really hurt Perfumer, whereas Channeler is kind of a flex spot for them, which is not great in some ways, because they can, like, super poly, for example, on summon, which is not ideal. But yeah, so anyway, that is what I have to say about Lady 1. Other than that, she makes all wind monsters gain 300 attack, so that includes Unicorn, which makes it 2800 attack, which is fantastic. That is the same as Ogre, so that's pretty great. So Channeler, we kind of already briefly just talked about it, but let's talk about Channeler a little bit more in detail. By the way, I'm going to make some guides about every single Harpie card in the archetype, and then talking about cards that work around the deck. And hopefully that won't get outdated by the time I start releasing the videos, but I've been working on the scripts and it's been really good, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be awesome. If you are new to Harpies and you want to learn more about the intricacies of the combos, I can teach you all the cool stuff. But anyway, Channeler. So it's discard a Harpie card and special summon a Harpie monster from your deck in defense, except yourself. And then she becomes level 7 if there's a dragon monster on your side of the field, and this card name becomes Harpie Lady while in the field or in the graveyard. So pretty much, what's great about this card is you can special pet dragon from the deck. Now you go into rank 7, so you could go into Shangri-ira if you want, or a few other cards in this list you can go to. It's pretty fantastic. Or you could just special Perfumer, then get Lady 1. Now you have 3 level 4s to play around with, and so you can go into, like, Bagooska if you need to, Chidori. You can do lots of stuff with that, right? So what's great about that is you could also just do Channeler, special summon, or normal summon Channeler, then special summon Pet Dragon from hand. We'll get to that in a minute. And then you use Channeler effect to discard another Harpie card, special Perfumer. Perfumer will search 2 because Channeler is level 7. We'll get to her in just a second. And then from there, you can add Egotist and then use Egotist to special summon Lady 1. So now you have 2 level 4s and 2 level 7s. So now you have rank 4 and rank 7, which is fantastic. And you haven't even done any Kashtira combos yet. Although, obviously, you'll probably start with a Kashtira combo, considering you need to special summon a Kashtira with no monsters on field first. So you would special Kashtira, then normal summon Channeler, and go from there. She is the bridge to basically everything else in the combo. So I don't think anyone needs to worry about that. The fact that she's at 3, I think she's the best part of the whole situation with Harpies. So yeah, and she makes Kashtira even better, which is fantastic. Now Perfumer, this card is also named Harpie Lady while in the field or in the graveyard. If it's normal or special summoned, add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Harpie Lady Sisters in its card text. So basically, when I tell people I normal summon it, I say add a spell or trap with Harpie Lady Sisters in its card text. That's how I explain it. But if I control a level 5 or higher Harpie monster when I activate this effect, that includes Pet Dragon, I can search 2 cards with different names, which means I could add Egotist and Hunting Ground, which is fantastic, because both of them say Harpie Lady Sisters in their text, which is great. That does not include Featherduster, does not include Featherstorm, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. We get Hunting Ground, which is awesome. It's still good. We can pop 1 card on the field, which is cool. Not a problem, right? Because we're guaranteed 1, because we're going to also add Elegant Egotist. You would activate Hunting Ground, then activate Egotist after that. And, scare the opponent, which is great. Great news. So yeah, it's nice to have a searchable Hunting Ground. Next, we have Dragoonity Legatus. Now, this is interesting, right? You might remember this from the previous list, and I'm keeping with it because I actually really like Dragon Ravine in this build. A couple reasons why. Main reason is this thing existing still. This thing's fucking broken, but we'll talk about that later. Legatus is great. Basically, if you have Dragon Ravine on field or a Dragoonity monster, which you probably will because we're going to summon this thing, you're going to special summon this card from your hand for free, and that's pretty much all you need it for. It's just a free level 4 special summon, which is fantastic because we can go into rank 4s that way, so that's cool. We have Riseheart. Riseheart can special summon from your hand, but then you are locked into Xyz monsters, which is not really a problem if you look at the list here, but in some ways you can avoid this as well. So Riseheart can be special summoned from your hand if you have a Kashtira monster on the field, other than himself, obviously. I guess if you did have another copy of him, you could special summon himself as well, which is pretty crazy. I didn't even realize that. Oh my god, doesn't exclude himself, so that's crazy. So like if there was another copy on the field, you could special summon the other copy from your hand, which is nuts. Yeah, so another thing about this card is during the main phase of this card is normal or special summon this turn, so that's important, this turn specifically. You banish Kashtira monster from your deck, except himself, and then banish the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck face down, and if you banish any, this card becomes level 7. So even if you only banish 1, this card still becomes level 7, which is pretty nuts. So it tries to resolve as much as possible, which is pretty good. Yeah, so this card's insane. You can go into rank 4s, you can go into rank 7s. Both those pools are insanely good, so this card is very, very good. This card is also a flex spot, though, and I have a reason for it. The main reason is that it locks you into Xyz, which kind of makes it tough. It's also not a great card going second. So, in theory, if you wanted to make this deck more hard going second, you actually could, and with that, you almost could just completely eliminate Riseheart from the whole deck list, which is actually what I'm doing in the TCG version, which you'll see in just a moment. It seems strange, but it's actually incredibly useful to not have him in the deck, because then he's just taking up a ton of space. He's not really, like, the best normal summon in this case, because you kind of want to normal summon Channeler more often than not. So, it's an interesting situation to be in, but I think you guys will get the picture. You'll get the idea when you start testing in your own little spaces as well. But I think you could have Riseheart at 1 and it probably wouldn't hurt the deck very much. And that would be like if you had, so 1 Perfumer and then 1 Riseheart and then you got rid of 1 other card in this list. You could just have Ash at 3 right there. So that's pretty great. And with that, I guess like the other flex card, I guess, would be Hysteric Sign. But Hysteric Sign's kind of nice because you can use it with Ravine to discard it itself, and then you get to search 3 cards, including Featherstorm. So it's kind of a hard balance to make, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Apex Avion is the next card on this list. So this is a once per chain Omni Negate by bouncing a Mist Valley card I control, which is pretty good. Now, mind you, it doesn't bounce the card for cost, which is pretty awesome. So, Apex Avion pretty much will end most chains because people will not try to negate it because it's going to be once per chain anyway. So, unless they perma-negate it for the rest of the turn, it's kind of just very oppressive because they can't really, like, Omni-negate it unless they destroy it in the same negation, or they'd have to imperm it, for example, which doesn't come up all that often. You would think it would come up more than it actually does. It really doesn't come up that often, though. So Apex Avion is a very powerful card in that sense. It's also special summonable with the Simorgh Link, which is still legal in this format, thank fucking god. So yeah, this is a very good card. Probably the best special summon off of the Simorgh Link. We have Tempest. Tempest is sendable with Dragon Ravine, so we could send Tempest to the graveyard, and then special summon himself by banishing 2 wind monsters from the graveyard. And guess what is also wind other than the Harpies? It's Kashtira Unicorn, so yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a really good card to use for your banishing. You can also use Egotist, because after you special summoned him once, basically not going to use him again, so that's pretty great. So yeah, I would say Tempest is a really great level 7 to special summon for literally for free, effectively. And yeah, it's a great way to stay in shape. Next, we have Harpie's Pet Dragon, Fearsome Fire Blast. So this card is special summonable from the hand if you have a level 6 or lower wind monster on the field. Also, if it's on field, monsters cannot target level 6 or lower Harpie monsters for attacks. Pretty much you're going to use it for the first effect, though. The second effect, not so much. But what's great about this card is that you can special summon it with while Channeler's on the field, and now you have a rank 7. You don't even have to use Channeler effect if you don't want to. So, it's a great way to not get negated on Channeler's effect and then lose the turn, basically. If you get a really bricked hand. Because if it's just Channeler and Pet Dragon on field, all you have to do is special Pet Dragon. Once you've normal summoned Channeler, and there you go, you have rank 7. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to commit the Channeler effect or any of that stuff, which is super great. Yeah, so I really like Pet Dragon a lot. Fenrir, I don't know if I have to explain Fenrir. This card's insanely broken as well, and a lot of people know what this does. But pretty much, if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. During the main phase, you can search a Kashtira monster from your deck. When this card declares an attack, or if your opponent activates a monster effect, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls, banish it face down, so it's only face-up cards, which is kind of interesting because it doesn't come up all the time, but it comes up fairly often, right? Because most monsters you don't want to get banished face down. But yeah, very good effect. Very good card. This is a very searchable card as well. It's just very scary, very oppressive. You don't really want to see this thing on the field. Yeah. Unicorn. Unicorn has all the exact same effects. The only difference is that it's a Kashtira spell that they search instead of a monster. And you can look at your opponent's extra deck instead of targeting a face-up card on the field. And you can banish a monster from their extra deck face down rather than a face-up card on the field, which is awesome. So, yeah, Unicorn is incredibly powerful. This is just Diablosis 2 for all intents and purposes. I don't know why Diablosis is considered to be the answer when this card is literally right fucking here. But here we are. We have this card and it's insanely broken. So yeah, and I also got a royal rare from it. And I was not trying. I promise you I do not spend money on this game like ever. I happened to got it, so that was pretty lucky. Anyway, Kashtira Ogre. This card is also the exact same as the other two. The difference is searching a trap and looking at your opponent's top 5 cards, banishing one of them face down, and then placing the rest on the top of the deck in the same order. So we both know what they're going to draw next, which is fucking nuts. And we're also going to be able to banish a card face down so we could fuck up their draw, which is just insane. And if you mix this with Lightning Chidori, you're double fucking their top deck, which is nuts. So, really, really powerful stuff here with Ogre, so very scary. Also, sorry I had to yawn there, I'm very tired. I was working for like 10 hours. This card, the trap that you search off of Ogre, is also insanely good during your opponent's turn. So, yeah, very good card, very scary, yeah. All intents and purposes, this is a great card to have. Next is Scareclaw Kash. This is one of the new cards. This has been added to Master Duel. It's very interesting to note that the OCG version of this card is written differently, but they have went with the English translation here, which probably means that is going to be a continuous trigger, just like it is in the TCG. Whereas in Master Duel, in the OCG, I believe it is an activated effect, or I believe it's only until while the monster's face up on the field, so it's not until the end of the turn. Or something like that. So, effectively, it sounds like it works the same way, but it doesn't work exactly the same way. Basically, at the end of that battle, the monster will no longer be negated in the OCG, as far as I know. Whereas in the TCG, it stays until the end of the turn, so even if Scareclaw Kash dies, the monster will stay negated, which is very important, because you could still make Zeus off of 2 other Kashtira monsters on the field or something like that. If you battle an Xyz monster and you're negating the Xyz. So it's pretty terrifying. This is a really good card. That's pretty much it that you need to know about this card. The way you special summon it is you banish a Kashtira or Scareclaw card from your hand or graveyard. This is very easy to do. Usually you hit Theosis if you have something banished, like a monster, and then you can add the monster to your hand with Theosis. Oh, speaking of which, I didn't add Theosis to this list. We're not going to use that many. We're only going to use 1. But I forgot to add it to the list. So we're going to go with 41 here. I don't know how I forgot about this card. But yeah, Theosis, we usually keep it at 1. We don't go any higher than that because we don't want to lock ourselves into Xyz all the time. But yeah, with that being said, I guess what I would do is I'd probably take out the 1 riseheart probably. And there we go. Now it's fit. So I apologize about that. I don't know how I forgot that card. I just realized it now. I didn't have Theosis in here all of a sudden, so that's interesting. Anyway, Kashtira Scareclaw is a really good card. Great way to stay in shape. Anyway, Elegant Egotist. If you have a Harpie Lady on the field, special summon a Harpie Lady from your hand or deck. Note that if they pop the Harpie Lady on field after this card's been activated, it's still going to special summon a Harpie Lady, so they can't just like make it fizzle like that. They would just have to negate this card with Ash or something like that, which would be a terrible Ash target, but sure. Anyway, Feather Duster's Feather Duster, we know what that does. Theosis, so you target a Kashtira monster you control. So let's say I targeted Riseheart, which is fire. I could special summon any other attribute of Kashtira. So I could special summon Unicorn, I could special summon Fenrir, Scareclaw Kash, or Ogre. You can also do this to target Shangri-ira, and then target anything except Riseheart, basically, because Riseheart is fire, so on and so forth. So the idea is that you want to target something that isn't Earth, because then it kind of puts you in a good position. Because if you end up targeting Scareclaw Kash, for example, it kind of sucks because you can't really go into fenrir off that. But Unicorn's not a bad choice either, so either way, it's whatever. Also note that it's going to special summon it in defense position, and it locks you into Xyz. So you won't be able to attack with that monster unless the Scareclaw Kash you special off of it, which is not a great special, but you could do it. I guess it's one way to get it on the field if you really wanted to. But yeah. Also, if this card is banished, you could target one of your banished Kashtira cards, except Theosis, and add it to your hand. So you could, like, have Fenrir banished, and then you could go Theosis, target Fenrir, and add it back to your hand, which is fantastic. So this is a really powerful card in the right situation, but typically what's going to happen with it is, for the most part, is it's going to be an extension rather than an actual way to bridge the combo. It's just an extension for all intents and purposes. Harpie's Hunting Ground. This is in the deck, and you could debate on this whether or not you think it should be in the deck, but I think it should be. Pretty much the major difference here is that if a Harpie or Harpie Lady Sister's normal special summon, each time, this is not hard once, the player who conducted the summon targets a spell or trap on the field, and that player destroys that target. So this is a great way to pop lots of back row, and Kashtira doesn't really do that well against back row decks. So this is a great way to deal with back row decks if you really want to go into like some Kashtira Xyz stuff. So like going into a Riseheart, for example, you can really fuck with them before you even get to that point. And kind of forces Labyrinth to play right away, which is very scary for them. And if they run out of resources, they lose, right? So you kind of put them in a really awkward position. Ravine is the next card. This card is just straight gas. So basically, you discard a card, then activate one of these effects. Either add a Dragonity monster, in this case we would add Legatus, or we could send a dragon monster from our deck to the graveyard, so that would be Tempest. And what's great about this is you could discard Hysteric Sign. Hysteric Sign, I'll just talk about this briefly. This card, when it's activated, you can add Elegant Egotist from your deck or graveyard to your hand. That's not the important part. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there from the hand or field this turn, add up to 3 Harpie cards with different names from each other from your deck to your hand. You can only use one effect per turn, and only once that turn. So, pretty much, you discard Hysteric Sign with Dragon Ravine, either add Legatus or send Tempest, and in the end phase, you activate Hysteric Sign effect, you add Channeler Pet Dragon Featherstorm, or Channeler Feather Duster Featherstorm, something like that. This is an absolutely insane combo. It's so useful in so many situations. And yeah, it's going to give you a way to be able to Featherstorm while Riseheart's on the field too, which is pretty dumb, pretty broken. So yeah, incredibly good card Dragon Ravine is, and Hysteric Sign as well. So yeah. Planet is really good. This is your way to add any Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. This is going to be the worst thing ever if you get drolled, though. So what you're going to do is, if you already have a Kashtira monster in your hand, like Fenrir or Unicorn, you're going to use their effect first, so that if you do get drolled, you can just use Planet later, and you don't have to worry about using it right away. But yeah, basically you can search Kashtira card with this card, or Kashtira monster, sorry. Monsters you control, in general, gain 100 attack for each attribute that is on the field, which is extremely good, because obviously all of these Kashtira monsters are different attributes, which is fantastic. And then, let's see. Whoops, I'm looking at the wrong card. If your Shangri-ira you control activates an effect, except during the damage step, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. So what's great about this is, if you use Fenrir effect, because your opponent uses a monster effect, you banish one of their cards face down. Oh, sorry, I yawned again. Oh my gosh. You can go Shangri-ira effect on resolution, and negate a zone or block a zone, And then Planet Wraithsoth will activate its effect, and you can non-target destroy a card. Or sorry, you do target, sorry. You target a card on the field and destroy it, which is awesome. So it's even more back row removal on top of hunting ground potentially as well. So this is a great combination of cards to be able to pop as much back row as humanly possible. Next is Kashtira Birth. This card reads like a custom card, so bear with me here. You can normal summon level 7 monsters without tributing, just straight up, which is pretty fucked up. During your main phase, you can special summon one of your non-exist Kashtira monsters that is in banished or in your graveyard. Mind you, you do not have to target the card, which means they can't really DD Crow and, like, fizzle the effect. They have to pop Kashtira Birth, which is pretty easy to do, because you could just do Ghost Ogre or something like that. Or you could just pop it or bounce it or something like that. Yeah, there's a whole combination of cards. Oh my gosh, I'm having a yawn attack. It's contagious to myself. If your opponent activates a spell card or effect and you control a Kashtira monster, you can target 3 cards in your opponent's graveyard. Exactly 3, mind you. Banish them face down. So that's another way to activate Shangri-Ira's effect. That's fantastic. Featherstorm is a great card. This is probably the best card in the list. Might be one of the best cards in the game. If you control a wind-winged beast monster, until the end of this turn, negate any monster effect your opponent activates, period. So that is graveyard, banished, hand, field, your mom's house, your dog's house, like everything. Every single place you could possibly want it to negate a monster effect that they activate, you will negate it successfully, which is fantastic. And you can activate this from the hand if you control a harpie monster. So, extremely broken card. Unbelievably broken. So, you can normal summon Channeler after you special Fenrir, and if they haven't negated anything yet, you just go effective Fenrir. If they ash, you just go, okay, Featherstorm, fuck you. You lose. So, it's pretty crazy. And then preparations. I already talked about this card a little bit, but during either player's turn, you can special summon one of your Kashtira monsters that's banished or in your hand. If your opponent activates a trap card while you control a Kashtira monster and this card is already face up in your spell and trap zone, you can look at your opponent's hand, and if you do, banish one card from it face down. So this is a hand rip. This card also kind of reads like a custom card, but this card does not get used nearly as much, and that's partly because we don't get to search it all that often. Ogre doesn't come up all the time, but not only that, but preparations, the special summon effect comes up more often than the hand rip. I think I very rarely have done the hand rip part, because trap cards just don't come up all the time unless you're going second, I guess, and at that point, preparations won't be face up yet, so it's kind of a mixed bag. But it's a decent card. It's worth keeping around and better than Big Bang. Although Big Bang is also decent if you have Riseheart, which we do. It's just, I don't know. Sometimes the gas is not worth it for an extra monster in Big Bang, so. Anywho. The next card is Cyber/Harpie Lady. So we're talking about the extra deck now. This card's great because you don't even need a tuner for it. You just need 2 Harpie monsters or like a Harpie monster plus any level 4 basically ever. And you make Cyber/. So if they debarrier you calling Xyz, you can still make this thing. And then you can activate Featherstorm from your hand on their turn if you really need to. So you can basically do a turn skip. And then you'll have Cyber/ on the field. So that's just pure bonus. Right, so it's a good card. Next is Dweller. Dweller negates any card effects that activate in the graveyard. So, your opponent cannot activate any card effects in their graveyard, is how it's written out exactly. So, something like Tearlaments, which is still popular, they can't activate a Tearlaments card to fuse, because it's in the graveyard when they activate the card, which is fantastic. And that's for the whole turn. Even if you destroy this card, as long as they activated the effect, they're good. They can do it. Yeah, so, as long as it doesn't get negated, yeah, all their cards will not be activatable in the graveyard, which is fantastic. Next is Lightning Chidori. This is the best Zeus ever, I promise you. This is a fantastic Zeus. When this card is summoned, target a set card your opponent controls, return that to the bottom of the deck. Once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material from this card, target a face-up card your opponent controls, and then place that on the top of the deck. So, it has a bottom of the deck effect and then a top of the deck effect. And so basically it becomes a 2-for-1 removal, which is fan-friggin-tastic. Yeah, so great card, great card. This is another great card to get rid of some pesky back row, especially stuff like Floodgates, which are really annoying. Less prevalent in Master Duel, mind you, but it's still great. Or you can do it on a monster that is really useless to normal summon, or can't be normal summoned, period, and can't be special summoned by itself. So this is a great other thing to, like, basically force them to top deck a dog shit card and then go into Zeus and wipe the rest of the board. So that's fantastic, right? Next is Bagooska. Bagooska is just fantastic. When it's in attack position, it's untargetable and indestructible. When it's in defense position, it moves all other cards there that can move to defense into defense. And then if they are in defense, their effects are negated, but they can still be activated. As long as it's activated effects, it'll be negated, but they can still activate the effect. So it works like Skill Drain, basically. So fantastic card, obviously. And yeah, is there anything else to say about Bagooska? Not really. Let's move on. Next, we have Big Eye. You can detach a material from this card, target a monster your opponent controls, and take control of that monster permanently, but then this card cannot attack, which is kind of a weird drawback, but it does come up often enough to be notable. But it's still a fantastic card, one of the best cards for Kashtira in general. Next, we have Galki Tomahawk. If you detach two Xyz materials from this card, you can special summon as many Battle Eagle tokens as possible. They're level 6, which, mind you, won't really matter all that much, but it can. And then it destroys them during the end phase of this turn. Also, your opponent takes no further battle damage this turn. So pretty much, you would put this in the extra monster zone, detach 2, make 5 tokens for no reason, link them all off into, like, Avermax or into some Morgue, because you can link 2 of the win guys into Conductor, because it's 2 win monsters, link 2 into IP, and then you can make Avermax off that, or you can make some Morgue with 3 of the tokens and call it a day, basically, because you could go link 2 into Conductor, and then link 3 into some Morgue. So very, 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 very simple. Very brain dead. Great little combo card right here. This is insanely good. Next we have Arsenal Falcon. Arsenal Falcon, if you detach material from this card, you can special summon a level 4 winged beast monster from your deck. The other effect is not applicable here, so it's just a special summon level 4 winged beast, which is great because that includes Channeler, so that might unfuck your hand if it's something like only Kashtira, for example, and you really want to go hard into the Harpie side, you can do that. Or if you really want to Featherstorm them and you have, like, a whole bunch of level 7 opportunities already on the field to begin with, you can do Arsenal Falcon plus, like, Shang plus, like, a Harpie, for example, which is insane, but totally possible. Speaking of Shang, here he is. I've been talking about him all day, and we're finally ready to talk about him himself. What does he do? So basically, during each standby phase, I can special summon a Kashtira monster from my deck, which is insane. And then I can only use that effect once per turn, hard once. And then, unlimited, each time a card your opponent owns and possesses is banished face down, you can choose one unused main monster zone or spell or trap zone. It cannot be used while this monster is face up on the field, which is insane. So it blocks a monster zone or a back row. Usually monster zones are better in this deck's case, but back row might be useful later on. If this card on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach material from this card instead. So it also has Zenmane's effect, which is insane. Yes, this is a great card. Next is a Riseheart. This is also brand new in the newest packs for TCG. It's a 3k monster. It is dark, rank 7. Needs 3 level 7s. You can also Xyz summon a Riseheart by using one Kashtira monster you control if an effect of shangri-ira was successfully activated this turn. From either side of the field, mind you, so if they use it, Shangri-ira's effect, you can also special summon a Riseheart for free, which is pretty brain dead. Usually you can do this through having Riseheart and Shang on the field at the same time. And you go Shang effect to block a zone, and then you go Riseheart on top of the Riseheart, which is awesome. And then any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, so this is literally Macrocosmos on legs. And then once per chain, each time a card is banished, attach one banished card to this card as material. Now, mind you, the way this is written is I believe you can also attach face-down cards that your opponent possesses, banished face-down. You just can't see them until you have attached the card as material. And then also once per turn, quick effect, so soft once per turn, detach 3 materials from this card, target a card on the field, and banish it face down. Just a reminder that this card is not limited, which is insane, so you could have 2 of these things in the field and do this twice. So yeah. kind of gross, right? Kind of gross. Or you can Monster Reborn this for all we give a shit. Speaking of which, you could put Monster Reborn in this deck. But anyway, Zeus is also in the deck. Most people know what this is, but basically you can, if an Xyz monster battled this turn, you can Xyz summon Zeus on top of a Xyz monster you control's material, transfer the materials to the card, and then quick effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, send all other cards from the field to the graveyard. And also, if another card you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can attach a card from your hand, deck, or extra deck to this card's material, which is pretty great. Doesn't come up all that often, but you can possibly do it. So yeah, this is great with Lightning Chidori, because Lightning Chidori is going to detach 1, swing in, then you make Zeus, wipe their whole board, so you fucked up their top deck, and you removed all the other cards from their field, which is super great for Zeus. Yeah, so pretty much that is that. Now let's talk about the Link monsters, and then we're finally done with the Master Duel list, and then I'll make another video regarding the TCG list. Next is Harpie Conductor. Harpie Conductor is 2 wind monsters. This card becomes Harpie Lady while on the field or in the graveyard, or named, sorry. And then each effect can be used once per turn. The first effect, it comes up often enough where it's relevant. The second effect, not so much. If a Harpie monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy a back row you control instead. For example, I could set Hysteric Sign with Conductor on field, activate Featherstorm, and then if they try to pop Conductor in some way, like by battle, I can destroy Hysteric Sign instead and then get a second Featherstorm on my turn, which is super dummy. But yeah, this is a great card for that. You can also just pop any back row you want, which is pretty great. So if you had like Birth on the field and it's just sitting there rotting, you could pop Birth. That's pretty fantastic. The second effect is basically, if a face-up Harpie you control gets bounced, you can target a special summon monster your opponent controls and bounce it. So that doesn't come up very often at all. However, you can do it with Mist Valley to get plus on card advantage on field, but less useful than just straight up bouncing with Cyber Slash's effect, which just makes more sense in general. So yeah, that's that. Next is Romulus. The only effect you have to worry about is when it's Link Summoned, you add a Dragooty, Spell Trap, or Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. So we just add Dragon Ravine in this case. This is a pretty good card for that, because Dragon Ravine is really good for the combos. Next is IP. IP is a quick effect to Link Summon on your opponent's main phase, which is pretty awesome. Also, when this card is used as Link material, it makes the card the card it becomes indestructible by card effects. So if I Link Summon into Avermax using IP, I can also make it indestructible by card effects. Next is Simorgh. And Simorgh is 2 monsters, including a Winged Beast monster. Cannot be used as Link material. Your opponent cannot target this card or Winged Beast monsters this card points to with card effects. If this card would be destroyed by battle, you could destroy one other Simorgh card you control instead. This doesn't come up in our case right now, but you could play Dark Simorgh, for example. Not in this deck, but like in another deck. And, use... Oh god, sorry. I'm yawning a lot. Use Dark Simorgh, that you special summon with Simorgh Link to pop itself instead of Simorgh being popped, for example, which is awesome. I hope that made sense what I just said. But yeah, anyway, the important effect is during the end phase, you can special summon a Winged Beast monster from your hand or deck with a level equal to or lower than the total number of unused spell and trap zones on the field in general. So, if there's like 7 out of 10 spell or trap zones still left, you could special summon a level 7 monster, so Apex Avion in this case, which is fantastic, because that's a free Omni Negate. And then finally we have Avermax. Finally, we're about to end this video. Oh my god. Avermax is 2 monster special summon from the extra deck in order to Link Summon it. This card, I'm going to just describe it the fast way because it's so much easier. There's so much card text on this card, it's unbelievable. But pretty much, this card is untargetable by card effects. If you use IP, it's also indestructible by card effects. It is the only monster you can target in battle for attacks. And once per battle, not once per turn, during damage calc, if this card battles a special summon monster, This card can gain attack equal to that opponent's monster's attack during that damage calculation. So if I fight Shaddoll Construct, for example, it can't destroy me by card effects because IP. So I will gain 2800 attack, and then Shaddoll Construct will die and take 3000 attack damage, which is fan-friggin-tastic. That's only during the damage calculation, mind you. And then if this Link Summon card you control is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can shuffle a card on the field into the deck. Non-targeting, by the way. So if they Zeus you, you can still shuffle Zeus away, which is pretty great. So yeah, very well-rounded deck. It's very crazy, very interesting, and I highly recommend this deck. I played around with this a fuck ton without a Riseheart in it, and without Scareclaw Kash, and without Theosis in it, and I can tell you for a fact, this deck does wonders. This was fantastic. This was incredibly easy to use to get to Platinum rank. I did not play enough to get to Master rank personally, but I can guarantee you it would get into Master rank without any problems whatsoever, because Featherstorm is such a broken card in addition to a Riseheart. There's no way that this deck is not going to get into Master rank super easily for you. I would be willing to guarantee it. Unfortunately, I don't have the proof to show you that right now, because I haven't been playing lately, but I would love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you end up playing this build and seeing if you liked it. I'm sure you guys are going to have a hoot with it. But in the next video, I wasn't meant for this to be a two-parter, but it's 40 minutes already. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the TCG build, which is obviously slightly different because there's no Riseheart. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Rate, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to go rest my voice. I will see you all next time.